Good morning. This is Animal on Control. Welcome to the voice chat. These calls are pre-recorded for upload to social media, and by joining a call, you're consenting to being recorded. Anyone wishing to join a call should email me at animaloncontrol@gmail.com, and I will reply with instructions. Dogs, today's topics: dogs in shopping centers, reductio ad Hitlerum, tickets for limbs, new member, and potpourri. Joining me is Ashar. Hey, did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to ask you that earlier, but I forgot. So how are you?
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for joining. I know we've been acquainted for a while, but I guess we've never had one of these calls. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, usually I start off as a new member. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what interests you in this space.
Yeah, no, I was never attacked, thank goodness. I've just been around dogs. My family had a dog when I was younger. I've never really liked them. Once I was exposed to one, that wasn't a cartoon or whatever. So a lot of misconceptions about them, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't find anything appealing about them. And I didn't like what they do to I don't like what they do to family dynamics. I don't like what they do to people dynamics. Is a big part of it for me, why I'm in this space. Attacks first and foremost, of course, right?
Yeah, well, Tales in the Doghouse type, scenarios. Yep.
Yeah, it causes a lot of problems.
It
for
does,
sure.
and I think it's one way that, I mean, normally on here we talk about public policy and things like that, the bad dog laws and the like, but it does because, the family is sort of like your most basic social unit, right? Outside of the individual. And, dog culture is corrupting even that. Like everybody has to have a dog. You're not complete without a dog. If you have kids, you have to get a dog for your kids, and blah blah blah. And the thing is, yeah, it's really toxic. So it's like an acid that eats away, right, at the most at our society at the most fundamental level. And in addition to at higher levels also, like our legal and political system. I mean, it's corrupting at all levels, but that's at the most basic level. I mean, you should be able to depend on your family members for support, but yeah, if somebody's parents say, oh yeah, we love Fido more than you.
Yeah, or the kids get that message because they know what's going on. You don't have to actually say it,
Sure.
It's so disrespectful, and it's child abuse to neglect your kids for a dog.
It is, and what are the parents going to do, when they're old? Is the dog going to take care of them? First of all, the dog in question is going to be dead. It's not going to do anything for them. So, we have, it really is. It's like dog. I mean, the animals themselves, obviously, they're really offensive, but dog culture is, like I said, is corrosive to our society at all levels. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about today was, and we were discussing it privately earlier, was things about this movement, or at least what do I represent. And I don't have a lot of followers. I'm a nano pundit, I guess, but what are we for, right? If we're going to form formal like .orgs and the like, what are we for? So, like I said, to reiterate, we're for, basic civics, things like law and order, personal responsibility, just and fair application of laws, but even as you said, perhaps also, family values. Like, I think it's discivic for someone to put their dogs ahead of their own human children, for example.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage. People don't realize. They think it's a joke,
It does.
It's not a joke.
it probably warps people for life. And that eats away. It's like maybe that's why or one reason why we have so many crazy people, right? Maybe it's not the fluoride in the water, or electromagnetic radiation from cell phones, or vaccines. It's perhaps that's the culprit. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that, and also, like I said, reiterate that at least in my case, I promote these types of civic values, and the dog
People first,
culture.
right?
Yeah, well, I promote civic values, and snark and bad humor also, but
Yeah.
it's just a good way to get the point across, and also gratuitous. Or what's interesting, and it goes to the crazy level of our adversary, is well, sort of how they view us, or even people like me. Like I told you earlier, if I had a nickel for every time I was equated to Hitler, I'd be one rich Nazi. And that's a problem, is that, but when people do that, I think it says more about them. Either they don't understand the political paradigms, or, it's just a knee jerk, insult. It's like calling somebody an asshole.
Yeah.
Personally, I take that very seriously. Like, there's people who I think are terrible that I would not equate to Hitler or to the Nazi movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me show. I want to. I'm probably not sharing. Well, here's my share. Okay, so entire screen and share. So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. And we were also talking about, I don't know how to approach this, because I always try to keep. I mean, it's a political issue, definitely. Dogs and society. I mean, among other things, it's not only a political issue, but it's a political issue. I try to keep partisan politics out of it. For a lot of reasons, I don't want to alienate anybody who might actually be useful, but I think there's some people in the space that are just too hyper partisan or too extreme to really be useful. I think they would drag the rest of us down. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, just with anything, anybody can get you carried away. I mean, people that make political identities so much like of their identity is not. That's an issue. Like, people have different preferences and stuff and opinions on things. But when you're that diehard about it, yeah, you're going to drive anybody away with that.
Yeah, and also those are the people to most likely go for the what was
two extremes.
Yeah, there's a logical field called reductio ad Hitlerum. Okay, and it's known as a playing of the Nazi card, is an attempt to invalidate someone else's argument on the basis of the same idea was promoted or practiced by Adolf Hitler, the Nazi Party. It probably even goes beyond that, like we're talking about earlier. It's like, okay, fluoride in drinking water, yes or no? And somebody says, nah, I'm not for it. They're like,
Yeah.
And if you get into this space, I mean, like I said, if I got with nickel for every time I was equated to Hitler, I'd be one rich Nazi. But what prompted the accusation? Like, why I'm no longer a hike leader? Back then I said, look, dog people, I don't even want to ban dogs from hikes. Okay, I'm okay with people hiking with their dogs. I just want them to adhere to or observe posted parks. Like, keep your dog on a leash. Right? And I was told to my face, not in one of these online, to my face, you're as bad as Hitler. I'm like, wow. Get the fuck out. Like, how do you get from that to, gassing 10 million people? It's fucking ridiculous. And the thing is, that like poisons the whole discourse, because, you have people, if you disagree with somebody on anything, you get compared to Mustache Man. And that relates to, I wasn't even sure to bring this up. We won't mention the person's name, but there was an assassination of a well known political pundit a few weeks ago. And a lot of people got stirred up about it. And I wasn't a follower of his, but some people are justifying it by saying, okay, he was an ultra far right wing white supremacist Nazi. And I don't know everything he said, but I want to share something, okay, to people who maybe he was, maybe he wanted to invade Russia in the winter. I don't know, but I doubt it. I want to share something. Okay?
I don't think these people really know what Nazis are, and thank
what
goodness.
They were about, right? I want to share something. Yeah. And this is actually, people are talking about AI voices. I'm digressing a bit, but I want to share something. There was, you talk about Hitler himself, can you see my screen still?
Yep.
All the recordings of his voice were typically film reels of him basically yelling and screaming at a crowd of people. And there's somebody turned up, it was a recording of his voice in normal conversational tones. And which really is kind of creepy sounding is he didn't sound like he does when he would speak in public.
Yeah.
And what somebody did was they took that, Hitler did not speak English, but somebody did was they created an AI voice from that. Because you can create an AI voice of your own voice. The people do it. I was actually thinking of doing that with mine, but somebody created an AI voice out of his voice and had him read in English in that voice some of his more famous quotes or speeches or whatever. Mm-hmm. You talk about some things like with the political pundit indicated, it's like I'm not really interested in some tiny quote or snippet taken out of context. Let's listen to the whole thing and get a feel for what they believe. And today it's like Hitler revisionism or apologism is a thing, but it's ironic. Is like again, like I said, particularly when I first got into this space, I'd say something like, owning a dog isn't for everybody. It's like, you're Hitler. It's like, well, actually, Hitler was a dog person, and that's been pointed out many. But let's listen to this.
The only recording capturing Hitler's regular speaking voice, known as the Hitler and Mannerheim recording, is truly astonishing. Recorded on June 4th, 1942, during Hitler's covert visit to Finland for Mannerheim's 75th birthday, it occurred in Mannerheim's private wagon. For Damon, a YLE sound.
Okay, let's skip forward.
Let's hear how the quote sounds when presented in a cloned version of Hitler's actual voice. For this particular quote, I will only use the 24-second voice.
Once I really am in power, my first and foremost task will be the annihilation of the Jews. As soon as I have the power to do so, I will have gallows built in rows. At the Marienplatz in Munich, for example, as many as traffic allows, then the Jews will be hanged indiscriminately. But they will remain hanging until they stink. They will hang there as long as the principles of hygiene permit. As soon as they have been untied, the next batch will be strung up. And so on down the line, until the last Jew in Munich has been exterminated. Other cities will follow suit. Precisely in this fashion, until all of Germany has been completely cleansed of Jews.
And finally,
so I think he definitely gets his point across there. Like, there's no saying, okay, you get the full context and everything. But, the political pundit in question say anything even remotely like that. Have I said anything? Now, of course, part of the problem is that you go back to the dog space is that, many dog nutters consider dogs to be the equivalent or even superior to humans. So if you say something like, well, let's, ban pit bulls, or let's varmint, these feral dog packs, that gets equated to what I just showed, right? Because they say, okay, those are people and you can't just, wipe them out. Because as soon as Hitler, he's directly calling for a genocide, public.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's important to consider too. But what we need to emphasize too is that dogs are not people. I guess if we were going to exterminate the dog owners, maybe then that might fit. Actually, that sounds like a pretty good idea. No, I'm just kidding. But that's a kind of thing. It's like, yeah, I find all these frivolous and gratuitous, associations with Mustache Man. I find them offensive. Okay, you
He
want
would too,
yeah.
to be honest.
You know what? Like, just okay. Show me something that whoever I said or whoever said that
Yeah.
it's even remotely like what was just presented here. It's like, give me a fucking break. And even like you talk about far right and stuff, they say, okay, like if you're somebody who says, okay, our elections need integrity, we need voter ID. And they're like, you're an ultra far right wing fanatic. It's like, not really, because I think for an election to matter, it needs integrity. Because there's people out there who want to repeal the 19th Amendment. Okay, that gave women the right to vote. And so I say, okay, that's extreme. Voter ID is not extreme unless that the person saying so is extreme, right? Too, it's like, okay, you want to, like, spam ballots everywhere and to, every empty lot and PO box out there, have no chain of custody. I'd say, oh yeah, that's because again goes back to civics values. Okay, as a citizen, I have a right to legit representation, and if a Mickey Mouse election is run, that strips me, really everybody, of that right. So that's not extreme, but maybe to some people. I think people claiming that, making these gratuitous, associations with Mustache Man and making some of these other claims, I think it says more about them than whoever they're criticizing. Okay.
For sure.
So anyway, I don't know if you had any more thoughts. So this is kind of off topic, but I know you brought it up when we were communicating earlier. Do you have any more thoughts on this before? I got some news items. Some outrage porn and perhaps some comedy. So, but I'll let you have the last word on this.
Yeah, I don't know. All I can think right now is a Mustache Man, but I know you're speaking more to the other extremisms, I guess, in society, whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just I don't get it. Like all politicalness aside, with that, a needless loss of life is what we speak out against in this space.
Yeah.
So I can't relate to thinking that that's a good thing or anything, and thinking that that's the good guys.
Yeah.
How can you think that that's the good guys? Like, seriously.
Right. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about like insane. I mean, one thing I like to, and I think it's always important for everybody to keep this front and center, is the fundamentally unjust nature of dogs in society. Okay, or is attributed to, we can attribute to dog ownership. I know this came up, actually, I think IHD had a segment on this, but I wanted to talk about, this case here. Okay, this woman was attacked by loose pit bulls, wound up ultimately lost both arms and both legs. So her life is ruined. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, this would be a fate worse than death. I'd almost prefer to be dead than live like this.
Mhm.
This is a huge, so, but of course, what was the result? Now, I don't know if it said it here, but I want to find out. Like, this came up. Let's see, find, oh boy, why isn't that thing going on here? I think, yeah, the person taking care of I think the situation was the dog owner was in prison. And you're thinking, wow, a pit bull owner going to prison. Like, who'd have thunk that? Of course, it was for something else. Like, that's the thing with these people is probably most of them wind up in jail anyway, but typically it's for something not dog related. And
Yeah, there's been studies on that actually. There's
yeah, oh
there's
yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, and it's not just pit nutters either, probably even other dog nutters to a lesser extent. But so the owner was in prison. A friend was taking care of the dogs, and I don't know, he lived in a trailer in the woods or something. So I like this. The person taking care of the dog got a ticket for violating animal codes. So this person broke the law, okay, allowed the dogs to run loose. This was the outcome, and they got a citation.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll bet that taught them a lesson, didn't it? Now, I'd like to juxtapose that. So, like I said, there's almost no protection from these things. No, there's nothing preventing these people from just going out and getting more drugs, right? Lather, rinse, repeat. It's like in armed robbery. It's like, okay, if you hold up a liquor store and shoot the clerk, maybe we'll take your gun away. Maybe not. Maybe we will. But either way, you can just go home. Don't worry about it. I mean, think about what fucking bullshit that is. So, yeah, they're secured. Yeah, one of the dogs, the person taking care of them was taken. Well, sort of, he was the I don't know what the lawyer would call, but he was the owner really at the time.
That's how that goes, yeah.
So that's the thing is, yeah, he was basically the D, and he should be held accountable for what these
Yeah.
do.
He's responsible.
Yeah, it'll come up on the red. Somebody says, "Yeah, my cousin wants me to dog sit his pit bull." I'm like, "Don't do it, don't do it, man," because, well, I guess in this case, like, okay, if the dog kills somebody, don't worry about it. Uh, but the attack is still under investigation. So it was ticketed. Did the dogs get put down? Okay, let's see. Like youth. Let me see if they were youth.
It doesn't even say that. Like
Youth, destroy. I'm trying to think of all the words. Euthanize, kill.
humanely. Just put humanely. It should show
Oh
up.
yeah, it's not even in the headlines. One dog was killed after the attack. But I think
at the scene. That's right. Yeah.
But that was because I believe it was the police that did that because, okay. Oh, and the dog was killed by the victim's
The boyfriend. Yeah.
That's what happened was because the two of them, she and the BF were bike riding.
Yeah.
The dog attacked her, so he killed the dog. Defending her. I wonder if they're not going to give him an animal cruelty charge, are they? Like, was it Rover just playing? And I'm sure there's probably some people talk about like sick, fucked up, twisted people. There's probably people out there who think that really he's the criminal, right, for harming the pure and perfect little fur baby. So yes, he's the dog, but it wasn't euthanized by authorities. It was killed in self-defense. So there was another dog at the scene. The officers didn't find evidence the dog was involved in the attack. So that animal is still alive, unfortunately. And then it says, yeah, the caretaker got a ticket. Oh,
yeah.
I wonder what is it, like a $50 fine or $100 fine?
I know it's like a $10,000 maximum. That's ridiculous.
I don't. Where did it say that? I don't think it's even that.
Maybe not in that story, but I did see that in one of the stories about it. It said $10,000 max.
Okay. Well, You know, that does that even fit the crime? You know, I mean, $10,000 for doing this to somebody, it's probably
Any fine, like
yeah,
really?
yeah. He needs to go to prison. But I like to juxtapose that because they always go like with service and dog bashing. There was another case. I like to juxtapose this to this case. So this was Kentucky restaurant hit with $25,000 fine for refusing to serve a Navy veteran with a service dog. Now, right away, you look at this photo, you see how affectionate she's being with her medical equipment. Makes you think that, I know people are going to bring up, zoophilia and all that, but it kind of gives like this is probably not a legit working dog just by looking at the photo, right? Because the ADA stipulates that service dogs are working animals, not pets, right? It's a tool used to do its job. So in any case, the restaurant owner was fined $25,000. So let's see what the New York Post had to say about that. But you juxtapose that, it's like, okay, how do you equate? Because even you talk about, let's say that the dog owner actually got hit with a max. They got fined $10,000 for ruining somebody's life like that, for permanently maiming somebody in such a gruesome and horrible way.
Mm-hmm.
But now this restaurant guy, but it's okay. So that's less bad than being kicked out of a restaurant, even illegitimate. It's like, okay, you get kicked out of a restaurant. What are you going to starve to death or something? It's like, come on. So, but that's the kind of thing, talk about the lopsided public policy environment. And in fact, you can get hit with a lot worse, right? Because I was looking at this as a penalty for refusing, quick snapshot, fines and legal consequences. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is for federal ADA violations, a Title III violation. 108, I don't know where they come up with these numbers. 118,000 for the first violation, 230, $250,000 almost for subsequent violations for kicking somebody out of a restaurant. I mean, even somebody in support of the service dog paradigm has to realize this is really draconian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kicked out of a restaurant, like, okay, is it that big a deal? Is it or a fit?
Well, the thing is, like, the dog is still a dog, and there's like lots of other options than taking a dog into a restaurant for medical equipment.
Sure,
Like the stats say that alone.
definitely.
So the laws need to change on that.
Oh yeah, but I like
For
to
sure.
point out though, is like again, it goes to the fundamentally unjust nature of this. Where okay,
Yeah, yeah.
you get maybe a max 10,000. He's probably not going to wind up paying that. And he'll probably get fined a few $100. The dog owner in that other attack. But yeah, but you're kicking somebody out of a restaurant gets you this. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, maybe you say, okay, maybe it should be like $500 or something.
Even that woman, she got like millions. That woman that got attacked was in the news not too long ago, and they settled for millions. But the only reason was because the dogs there was a huge history. If there was no history with those dogs, that never would have happened.
Yeah. Well,
and I mean, she can't buy her the damage undone back. You can't buy that back.
But that was in civil court. I mean, these are violations actually stipulated by the government, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, you can sue.
I just thought that was so sick though that she got that much, like, good for her and stuff, but that's how that had to go. That's how that had to happen.
Well,
if there's no fight history, you're screwed.
Well, the government does nothing to protect people from these things. So you can sue, provided there's even anything to go after, right? Like what? I mean, I'm sure like this woman and her family are going to sue, but it's like, look, the freaking dogs lived in a freaking RV in the woods. They don't. There's nothing to go after. You can't squeeze blood from a rock. That's a problem. It's like, yeah, if there's a deep
Yeah.
pocket to go after. Remember, I mean, yeah, you can go to court and they'll say, okay, we're going to award her $2 million, but they're never going to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Never. That's why I said, like, I think the prison time is key because a lot of these people have nothing to go after. They're not. I think I brought up there was a case actually in my neighborhood because it was a few years ago. There was a pack of pit bulls terrorizing the neighborhood, and I won't go into all the details. After about 6 months of the entire community agitating against it, finally the dogs were impounded and put down. But I looked up the address, and they, went to the tax assessor's website because somebody had shared the address on Nextdoor, and
Yeah.
the assessed value of the quote improvements like the house and whatever else is built on it, the assessed value of the improvements was zero. Zero. And actually some people point out that's the taxable value. Probably the actual value is probably less than zero. In other words, if it's some totally decrepit mobile home, say, really what you have from a marketing standpoint is you have site value, basically land less the demolition. So if, let's say, the land is worth $50,000, but the mobile home would cost, I don't know, $10,000 to demolish and remove, what you've got is a $40,000 piece of property.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is yeah, like, I mean, lawsuits are great. If somebody's bit, or even if you're, being barked out of your house, totally sue them. I'm all for it. But the thing is that by itself is not good enough, particularly in this case. They're not going to get anything out of those dog owners. Unless there's a history, like what happens often now is that the government is sued, which is very difficult. If they're they've been grossly negligent. I think that case you brought up, a light just went on in my head. That it was a $2 million judgment, right?
I don't remember exactly, but
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, actually she did get paid, I believe, and the taxpayer.
I think that was because that was one. It's kind of like the Conda Ritchie case, or what was the other one? There's actually a bunch of them now where they're suing this, and of course the government's a pretty deep pocket, so they probably get it. Of course, the problem with that is that just, if you sue the government, that just results in higher taxes and or fewer services. Right? It doesn't really teach that, because in the Conda Ritchie case, the AC director, I think what happened was he was fired, but talk about failing upwards. He got a better job as an AC director somewhere else.
Nice.
So he just failed us. So really, the only people who paid were the taxpayers in that case.
Yeah.
But I like to juxtapose that because you talk about these, they have these draconian penalties for something that's really a minor infraction. They don't even go into, okay, they talk about in the article, okay, it's like, well, this was a legit service dog. It's like, was it? Was it? It was a well-trained and certified. First of all, there's no certification for these things, or none that matters. And it's like, really? Like, how do you know that? Oh, the dog owner said so. Oh, okay. That makes sense, because no dog owner would ever lie about anything, would they? No.
Or be delusional. No.
Of course not. No. I mean, when they say their dog is a service dog, you can tape that to the bed, as they used to say. So I thought this was an interesting case also. Here, good. To file a complaint. That was the other thing. Yeah, it's a Middle Eastern restaurant, and I think the proprietor was, an Egyptian immigrant. And totally, I'm on his side, just to get that out of the way first. But I don't think he probably didn't know the laws or understand the paradigm very well. But this is another one of those cases where, it's kind of one of those, it's a service dog paradox because, yeah, it's like unlawfully discriminate, but refusing to accommodate her disability. Okay. Okay, here's the thing. According to the officer's report, Salah, I guess is the owner, seated Van Moorn and Mooney, so he let them enter the restaurant and sit down. But here he goes, but blocked them when they attempted to pass the buffet to reach the restaurant. So this is she could not remain in the restaurant. So now he's kicking them out. Of course, he took out the cell phone and started recording. As a supporter of claims of discrimination. Specifically, even though it was a disabled individual accompanied by a service animal, refused to accommodate her request to use a restaurant's restroom and presumably the use of the buffet table. So, but picture this, imagine, okay, you've got the disabled person with a service dog. How do you think about, this is a case where like having a dog would definitely make things worse. How do you load up at the buffet table and control, like hold the dog's leash at the same time?
Yeah.
How do you, like, wouldn't that
even just having them in restaurants, like you got to think these people are feeding them. I guess service dogs supposed to be like better behaved and all that stuff, but like dogs live for food.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is you don't want
ridiculous.
But it raises I think what I'm saying is like how do you like control?
It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense.
It's one thing to just sit down at a table and order, but it doesn't make sense. That's what I see with a lot of these, quote service.
It screams that they went out of their way to target this place to make an issue. Maybe it's a money grab.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to make a point. Maybe it's both. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they target these places.
So he told the commission his actions were based on food safety concerns, citing health department regulations.
That's right.
But the county health department explicitly allows service animals in dining areas, including near buffets.
It's a contradiction.
Yeah.
It's a total contradiction written in there, like.
Yeah.
Because they're a health code violation where there's open food.
Yeah.
And it's still a dog. So.
It's still a dog. Yeah, it goes back to.
And he's not wrong.
He's not. He's not. But part of it too is the law does not protect him in this case though, because she came in, she said service dog. So basically, you got to what they have is power. They can force people to accommodate them. Even in situations where doing so would cause all kinds of problems. And, if any of those people are listening, it's like that kind of behavior is really not going to win you friends. Okay. He didn't think was making a scene in his restaurant. So argued denied not only to Mooney, but that's the problem is, the presumption is that, again, which it shows how ridiculous this is. The premise is that okay, you've got a disabled person that can't access the buffet table without the dog. And I call BS on that. I'm thinking, disabled or not, the dog would make it more difficult to access the buffet table. So. But the law says, you have to let them do it because it's impossible. It must be interesting to find somebody else with the same disability. Say, I'll pay you $100. I'll buy you dinner and pay an extra $100 if you can load up on food without a dog. I could find some takers and then rub that in her face. You don't need the dog in this situation. And in fact, the presence of the dog makes it worse, not just for everybody else, but for the handler also, I would think. But again, you have all these arbitrary claims being. I can't access the buffet table without the dog. And I call any reasonable person would call bullshit. That's nonsense. And but I don't know, do I sound like a European dictator with a funky mustache when I say that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta.
You're even calling it into question. Like, what's the big deal? Like, if it's so necessary, you can defend that. You would be able to defend that point. But like, there's alternatives. It's not even defensible.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need the dog to go to a restaurant.
Excluding a service animal is equivalent to excluding the person. But I'm calling like bullshit on that. Like I don't think so.
And nobody's saying that the person is being like, they can't come in. It's the dog that's the problem.
Yeah, but that's the point they're making, though, is they're saying that the premise is, right, that we're forced to, accommodate these people because they'd be unable, again, it would be impossible or at least exceedingly difficult for her to go to the buffet table, load up on food, and return to her table without the door. That's the premise. And I think that's absurd. Maybe it's true, but I'd like to know how that's the case. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
So I think it's a ridiculous premise, but everybody is expected to, again, just take it, accept the arbitrary claim. That's the case. That's the way it's got to be. That's why we have to allow these things every. I underscored to see, victory for this is a significant victory for the mutt matrix. That's who wins here. Okay. Dolly Trans with nice lunch while accompanied by her service dog. Okay, stark reminder that disabilities come in many forms, both seen and unseen. Yet my invisible friend is calling bullshit on that because, he knows everything, and he says, "Yeah, that's not true." Their anti-discrimination laws exist to ensure that everyone, including the disability community, has equal access to employment, housing, and public accommodations. And our office will vigorously enforce them. Yeah, and when it's the dog being protected, yeah, they'll vigorously enforce those laws. But let's say this dog were to attack and kill a kid, it'd be like, yeah, what dog? What are you talking about? Now all of a sudden that shit doesn't happen. So the 25,000. Now this was issued by the state, so there could be further federal Title III complaints coming out of this. So it did not respond for request to comment. But I think anybody who lives in the area, everybody should make sure to visit this restaurant. But people ask, okay, why don't these fake service dogs get kicked out more often? Why not? Well, it's because of cases like this. It's a chilling effect. It creates a deterrent. Unless the dog is just completely out of control, you want to allow it because, you're going to, they're going to, come down on you like a ton of bricks.
It's too big of a risk. It's too big of a risk. Most likely the dog is not a service animal even.
Yeah.
But can you take that risk?
Yeah, do you want to take the risk? Because again, the penalties are very, very steep. I think he should appeal this. I think that the punishment is too steep. Again, kicking a dog out of a restaurant should not carry. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at the comments. Here's all the nutter propagandas coming out of the woodwork. This is a trained, Joe Shepard. How do you know this? First of all, there's no certification for these things, at least not in the United States. So that's bullshit. 100% per se, conversation over. And even the thing is that this was a trained. Really? Did you see the training docs? Well, you can't ask for training documentation. It's okay, but still, How do you know that? Okay, some are seeing eye dogs. Some are trained to alert their owner before seizures. That came up. I don't know if you saw that other segment with that He-Man weightlifter in the Planet Fitness saying, "Oh yeah, I've got a well-trained and certified service girl."
Yeah.
You dig into, he's got a TikTok page, because I think at no point, or at least not in that video or in the comments, was it stated, okay, what's the nature of the disability, or what service is the dog trained to perform? Like, what does it do? And in one of his other videos, he states that the dog, he has a fainting disorder, and the dog notifies him of, onset, fainting episodes. And still, that does not make it safe to work out. What's interesting in other videos, well, first you see him breaking other laws, like you see the dog off leash in parking lots and things like that. So again, he only supports the law insofar that it protects him. If it protects somebody else, then it's irrelevant. But in any case, he states that he has this fainting disorder. But people know typically, not always, but almost always, people with those type of disorders, seizure disorders, fainting disorders, have their driving privileges suspended. Okay?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, and you don't get it back until, you need a health cert from a doctor stipulating that the person is safe to drive. Okay? Because if you have a seizure, well, it's reckless endangerment. You could kill someone or multiple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see him driving around, and okay, is the dog? I mean, those alert dogs at best work about 80% of the time, and that's provided the dog does anything useful.
I looked into it. I looked into alert dogs, like, in Canada anyways, and I looked into it like, okay, if I was going to, like, try and get one of these dogs here, like a certified from from some organization that trains them and provides them for people, and you can get them, like, for basically free anyways. They're supposed to cost all this money, but there was nothing. I couldn't find any official trainer service provider that would assure an alert dog, like to alert you before it happens. That's just not a thing.
There's no medical. There's no medical science backing them up.
They can't train them for that. They say they can't train them for that. I mean, so it's just somebody just saying that,
Well, you know what it is? It's an expression of the mutt religion. They just believe at some level that the dog is able to do this. And then he claims like the dogs have a really good sense of smell, which is true. But the thing is the dog really know or understand the implications of one of these, health episodes. Like I think the chef and I were basically tearing into, as was the case in North Carolina, with a diabetic alert dog. And this woman, actually her church had done a fundraiser. The dog cost $15,000. And basically it was useless because it would hide from thunderstorms and it was easily distracted. The thing is, people take your health problems seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, show some respect for yourself, right? Because, that's, a hypo or hyper glycemic crisis is a very serious matter. You don't want to, like, entrust that to a dog. You don't know, is a dog one or the other? Does a dog want a snack?
Exactly. Like, the dog's got no guaranteed success rate.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting, though, is, part of that, they got into it, and if you drill down, like, the fine print, like, of the purchase contract, and I'm sure it's probably in all these purchase contracts, but it was in hers, that, there's no warranty or guarantee that comes with these things. It stipulates that, your alert dog is not a mechanical device that can, perform in a predictable way. It's an animal. It's a dog. and even the best trained dog on earth is still a dog. It's going to chase squirrels. It's going to hide from thunderstorms. It's going to spend, multiple hours a day licking its ass and do other dog things, right? It's still a dog. And that's the thing is, those things, are potentially going to impede its performance. But yeah, there's no legit medical authority or .org representing people with these conditions is going to recommend the dog. The only people making the claim really are the people selling them and these, mutt nutter propagandists probably paid. So the poor, fine is too low. Yeah, it's illegal. Who cares? Owners should know the law. Well, that's the thing is, like, if I were advising him beforehand, I would say, yeah, unfortunately, there's something you need to know about America is that, the dogs are sacred animals in our society, right? So if somebody comes in here and claims it's a service dog, you have to respect that. I know it doesn't make any sense. I know, it's stupid. It's a terrible law that needs to change, but that's the way it is, unfortunately, for now. So, yeah, it does not support. That's the other thing, too, is there's a lot of kids that are veteran. I wanted to make some remarks about that. I was never in the military. I almost was. I almost joined the Navy right out of high school. Because I didn't have a lot of money and my grades were a little sketchy. So I looked into the Navy. I scored high on their aptitude test. They wanted to make me a nuclear engineer, which is actually a very prestigious job in the organization, but not a combat job. Because they realize like most military jobs are non-combat in nature. For every person you got in the front line firing a rifle, you get whatever 5, 6, 7 people in the background supporting the person. And those are worthwhile jobs. I respect that too. But what I don't respect is that somebody who tinkers with, equipment all day is some kind of war hero. I don't respect that. Like, if I had gone that route, I would have said, what did I do? Well, I looked at gauges all day. And that was the other thing, too, is I would have thought, the reason I didn't want to do it, it wasn't like, oh, no, I'm going to get depth charged or some shit. I didn't worry about that at all. I was worried about being bored. I said, as a going to be bored to death down there. That was really the deterrent. Because it really like submarine warfare. I mean, today submarines serve as basically missile launching platforms, like kind of old school submarine warfare with like depth charges and torpedoes firing in all directions. It's very unlikely that a modern submariner would be in that situation. So I definitely, I respect the military and the people who, I don't even like the idea of serve. Look, they got paid to do a job. Okay, it's not volunteer work. We don't have a draft anymore. We haven't since the 70s. So we don't want to but that's the thing is, there's a tendency to fetishize that. So it's like, okay, what is she, a Navy SEAL with 20 years of combat experience? Like, come on.
Yeah.
She probably had, was in some support role or administrative job or something like that. And again, nothing wrong with that. I don't look down on those people, but I don't look up to them either. I don't see how somebody like that deserves better treatment than anybody else. I don't support that. Okay, somebody like that should not be, they're not some aggrieved minority. But that's what's being expressed here. That, she's some kind of war hero. thousands of hours of combat experience left her with crushing PTSD, and she can't go anywhere without her dog. At no point is the nature of the disability or the task that the dog is trained to perform made evident. Everybody is, again, expected to buy into the arbitrary claim. It's a certified, well-trained service dog. Suck it, trolls. Okay. Owner should know the law, indeed. Okay. Every hotel and motel has been sued when the law changed. Yeah, people are getting barked out of hotel rooms now, thanks to fake service dogs. What else have we got here? The rest of the public's right. Yeah, the rest of the public's right to not have animals in the dining space or sniffing the buffet table outweighs a disabled person's preference for choosing to go out to a restaurant with a service animal. Yeah, and it says, and yet there's a law that says the animal is allowed, that the law allows her to do this. I don't know if this can be any clearer. I mean, technically, that's correct. It shouldn't be, but it is. That's the thing is all this appeal. It's like the law. It's interesting. Talk about bad laws. That in Florida, up until recently, very recently, it was illegal for women to go skydiving on Sundays. That law was just repealed. But it's sort of
it sounds like an old law.
Yeah, well, probably it even did because I'm interested in that stuff generally. It's like, how did that come about?
Yeah, why?
Find out, what was the preamble or what was the rationale for it? I expect, if I had to guess, it was probably passed in the 50s. Again, with the old school, it's like, well, women should be at home preparing Sunday supper for their families and not jumping out of airplanes on.
Were there a lot of women skydiving in the 50s? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't think so. But it was only on Sundays.
Right.
It was the ladies could skydive Monday through Saturday, no problem. It was only Sundays.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, that was interesting. But that's the law can't be any clearer. It's like, yeah, dummy, it's a bad law. That's
the thing. Yeah, laws can change.
Laws can change too. It's disgusting. Keep your animal at home. Some are terrified of dogs. Ridiculous. Dogs. Here's the other. Dogs are more sanitary than most of the. Yeah, right.
They always say that stuff.
Yeah, here's the other one. Another snarky. Why order a pizza or have a meal at home? When you can dine out twice a day and collect on lawsuits from people just trying to behave reasonably. And that's the kind of thing. It's that the paradigm. It's like says, okay, is unreasonable. It's unreasonable. Say, oh yeah, you can't go to a restaurant without a dog. Come on.
It's just wide open for abuse too.
Oh yeah, and it is. Okay, apparently you don't know how laws work. Well, apparently we do. And that's the kind of thing, and I think it's an important takeaway, not just in this space, but generally. Just because you can do something does not mean you should. It doesn't mean, if the government says, okay, is drinking gasoline legal? If it is, it doesn't mean that doing so is a good idea, right? Yeah, my empathy for other people. There's a lot of really good. Who helps you tie your shoes? Okay. Yeah, they are not. A dog can lick an open wound and cause you to have to be amputated. Way less, the law is clear. It's the law.
It's nice to see more pushback in these comment sections.
Yeah.
Noticeable.
Go over real quick. I don't know if you had any more thought. It's like service dog bashing was always a ton of fun. I loved doing it. I don't know if you had any more thoughts on this. I'll give you the last word on this. I have one more topic I wanted to cover before we close out.
Yeah, no, I don't think I do.
So this was another one. This news outlet, this Boca News Now. You can still see this online. Dog
Yep.
poop, yeah. So they reported on Publix. Publix is a big grocery chain down here, and they went all in on banning pets in stores. It's a big sign. Well, most of them have a big sign: no dogs or no pets. Below that, it says service animals only. Emotional support animals are not service animals.
Right.
And most people, 90% is 90% positive. Like I said, it's a 90-10 issue. But I showed here it goes, dog poop in Boca Raton Town Center Mall. It's a very upscale shop. And Boca Raton is a city in the greater Miami area. So it's Boca Raton. So look at the size of that dump. That's clearly a big dog. It's probably what a Saint Bernard or a Great Dane or something.
Yeah.
It's got this upscale mall, right? It's got all these outlet stores for probably like I feel like a Gucci outlet store and everything. And there is a big pile of dog shit right on the floor. So.
I wouldn't be surprised to learn it was a pug, though, either.
I don't know. That's a big pile. That's a big. I mean, hell. I mean, I don't dump that. I mean, that's a big.
No, that looks like a horse was taken in there or something.
Almost, yeah. That's
That's
a big. That's a big dump. That's a great big.
Dogs are good at that.
Yeah, they are. So, CEO of Simon Property Group, company that opens Boca Raton Town Center Mall, is battling cancer. But according to the Wall Street Journal, David Simon is still calling the shots at his properties nationwide. You think that a man with serious health issues be looking out for his customers, who may also have serious health issues, and do so by keeping his properties clean, you'd apparently be very wrong. How do we know? Look no further than the pile of dog poop on display this week at his cherished Boca Raton Mall. There's another. Look at
the sign by that is killing me.
Yeah.
That's all they could do till they can get the mop bucket or whatever.
Well, you need a snow shovel to pick that up. The poop.
Yeah, who wants to do that? Oh.
Yeah, the poop was noticed by someone who cared enough to put out a warning sign, but apparently not by an employee who cared enough to clean it up. It's the latest example of the ongoing dog problem in Boca Raton and South Palm Beach County, one exacerbated by Simon Property Group and Town Center Mall, where dogs are inexplicitly allowed to ruin the shopping experience for everyone. Well, it goes back to that other case. You kick the dog out. But that's the problem. It's like, yeah, you can kick the dog out, but only after damage is done. That's the problem. It's like you can't preempt it at all. We wish David Simon well. We also wish that he'd cede control of his cleaning and rulemaking operation. People are capable of doing the job. So here's in the Starbucks. There's 3 dogs, at least. You got one lower left, one being held, one kind of lower center here. So, busy Starbucks at the Federal Highway and 5th Avenue in Boca Raton. So there's 3 dogs. I'm sure these are all certified and well-trained service animals. I'm sure. They all got asked the 2 questions. An animal from Town Center Mall to Starbucks, where our tipster wondered if Starbucks, this is an interesting point here, the company that continues to fail, right, because continues to fail, has completely gone to the dogs. Our tipster saw 3 dogs at once in the store. 2 were apparently barking at each other. The dogs are, of course, illegal under Florida law, but it's pretty nebulous. They say, service dog. Animals are not allowed inside restaurants unless they're trained service animals providing a function. Well, what if the function is to just annoy the shit out of everybody? Because that's the problem, is there's no stipulations or boundaries set on what constitutes, quote, legit service dog activity. It could be anything. Like, serious, in theory, it could be anything. So that's the part of the problem. So it's illegal to lie about your dog's training, and Starbucks wonders why their sales keep declining. Yeah, who the hell wants to put up with that shit? I'd rather just drink coffee at home. Then sit in one of these dog kennels. Yeah, you get barking dogs. Who wants to fucking listen to that?
No one.
So here now we're at, okay, where is it? Oh, Trader Joe's. So now we're at Trader Joe's. We've got, let's move on. Yeah, so their sales keep declining. And that brings up the point is a lot of people say, oh, well, they allow the dog because they, but the thing is, you got to look at it in the net. I don't think that allowing this is a good economic proposition. I think that, like, for example, if every dog in a restaurant drives 3 other people away, that's a net loss, right? And that, I don't think they're considering, because it's like, okay, fewer people are going to say go to the mall or go to a coffee shop or eat out because of stuff like this. Okay, I don't want to be bit, barked at, have a dog pee on my leg. I don't want that. Okay, because of this, loophole these people exploit. So now we got a dog in Trader Joe's, and I'm sure this is a well-trained service dog also. It's not focused on the handler. So let's stay in East Boca and head over to Trader Joe's. This woman and her dog were seen shopping in the refrigerated section. It's fine to buy cold things. It's not fine to buy them while toting your fluffy dog through the store. We've said it once. We've said it a heck of a lot more than once. Dogs are not allowed in supermarkets. Maybe this dog is a highly trained service animal. Or maybe it's just a dog illegally in a store. What do you think? I mean, part of the problem of this article kind of dances around the point.
Yeah, it doesn't take a stand.
They're going after them, but they're doing it in kind of a passive, aggressive way. So now we're in Culver's in Jupiter. Fasten your seatbelts as you board a Dog Force One. And head up to Jupiter, where a tipster there wanted to know that dogs in stores and restaurants is a problem everywhere, indeed. This was a scene earlier this week at Culver's in Jupiter. 2 dogs, 1 woman. Right? Are these both service dogs? Does she require the service of both of them? Perhaps, I'm sure she would claim so.
I think one's the service dog to her service dog, I think, is what that is.
Yeah, actually, I've heard that. Yeah, my service dog needs a service dog. So, 1 woman, why? Well, because she's an entitled person who's empowered by garbage dog worms. That's the why. So here's another one. Ooh, look, here's a dog. Feet, right, with its bare butthole right on the cushion.
No, go play those games at home, lady.
Yeah, that's right on the cushion. So here's a hullabaloo in Palm Beach. Look at the dog at the bar. No, seriously, there is a dog at the bar. So what's up? Hullabaloo in Palm Beach, where a tipster wonders if the dog sitting at the bar was carded. We wonder if anyone would get upset if they looked in the direction of the woman and said, that's a real dog. Okay? Now, we get down to this. This is very interesting because service dog fraud is a crime in Florida. However, I did some due diligence on it. As far as I can tell, nobody has been prosecuted. Talk about it's the
Exactly.
it's the
Is it a crime if it's not enforced? You know, like, why do they make laws and don't enforce
Well, that's the thing is, yeah, as far as I know, no one has been prosecuted under this law. This is a dead letter, but it says, and this is interesting though, because it might deter some people from pursuing the activity. So it says,
That's what they're hoping.
yeah, service. Well, that's why like if I had a restaurant, or even like too, is if I were a county commissioner, I'd make a code that every food establishment put this right by the entrance. Service animal fraud is a crime. Florida statute 413.089, punishable by a maximum penalty of $500 fine and up to 60 days in jail. I think it also stipulates that the fraudster can also be sent to community service for some organization that assists the disabled, like say at the deaf and blind school, say, because, which I think that's fitting for somebody faking a disability to get special treatment.
Yeah, I guess it would be fitting if it was enforced.
Yeah. But as far as I can tell, nobody has been prosecuted under this law. And many other states have similar laws, but this is a dead letter like every other dog. Or any dog law. Because see, this is supposed to protect us from them. But it goes back to the point I make. There's a lot of protection for these things. And not just in the service, but in the whole situation involving dogs in society. There's a lot of protection for them, but little to none from them. So
there's a lot of money behind it. I mean,
so punishable. Okay, 60 days. Please note, service animals defined by the Americans, and this spells the whole thing out. Dogs are individually trained to do work or perform tasks for an individual with disability. Okay, the work done or task performed must be directly related to the individual's disability. A service animal is a working animal, not a pet. So dogs whose sole function is emotional support, well-being, comfort, or companionship do not constitute work or task for purposes of this definition and do not qualify as service animals under the ADA guidelines. Any attempt to present an emotional support animal, pet with paperwork, pet dressed in a vest, and other misrepresentations as a service animal is service animal fraud. But again, it's so difficult to prove because, not only is proof not required, it's forbidden. Like you're forbidden. Well, staff is forbidden to ask, like litigants and judges, and I believe even police officers. But the thing is, it's all very nebulous because there's no formal oversight of this. There's no proofing system. There's no clear definitions of like who's protected by these laws or what constitutes legit service dog activities. Again, it's all very nebulous. And of course, the benefit of the doubt always goes to the dog owner.
Yeah.
So I thought this was interesting. What else do we got here? Good time to remind everyone the laws and statutes of Florida when it comes to dogs and lying about their service status. Okay, we turn to our friends at La Bamba and Delray Beach. Okay, that's the venue is La Bamba. Sign above remains outside the restaurant's front door. Every restaurant should have one of these in front. We're glad it does. So here's another one. Here's someone pushing a dog in a stroller, which is clearly that's not a service dog. And this is at Publix. I actually reported a fake service dog at Publix. They took it seriously. I haven't seen too many dogs. I was trying to think, like, I've seen too many dogs in these venues recently. It seems like at least around here, it's died down somewhat. So now we head back down to Delray Beach in public at Linton and Judd. We're shocked to tell you, absolutely shocked, that there would be a dog in Publix. After all, like I said, there are huge signs saying no dogs. But this woman apparently can't read. That's the only explanation. Well, she could read, but what she knows is that nothing's going to happen to her, right? So, like, worst case, because going back up to here, nobody gets prosecuted under these laws. So she knows, that's what I talk about, like garbage, unenforced dog laws actually like encourage, like engender more bad behavior. So
100%.
she
Yeah.
knows that, okay, worst case, what's actually going to happen? Is she going to go to jail for 60 days? No. Worst case, they're going to tell her to remove the dog from the store. Worst case. Right? They're not going to call the cops. She's not going to be arrested. She's not 2 months. That's like the worst case.
Yeah, they're going to ask her politely, Like,
yeah, the they'll ask is like, look, there's the dog in the, well, it's not a shopping cart, but a stroller. A dog in a stroller, I think even the ADA stipulates a dog is not a legit service dog. Or at least it's not doing a legit task. It needs to leave, right? So put the dog in the car and come back. They might say that, but that's probably like worst case. That's the problem. These people, they know it. And that's embedded in the culture also. They know nothing's going to happen to them. That's why they keep doing the things they do. Same
and
thing.
she's got no shame. Like, she's got no shame.
None. And same thing earlier, we were talking about the, that case in Oklahoma with a woman losing, the quadruple amputee. Same thing with that dog owner. It's like, he's got, like, really, the proposition of owning a pit bull or similar, or pet sitting one, being in possession of one, should scare the shit out of people. And not just what it can do to you, because they know, okay, if I don't rover, get out and dismember somebody, it's like, all right, I'll get a citation, but there's no big deal, right? They know, even if that happens.
Yeah.
So they know even if they get caught, it's going to be the most minimum, penalty. So in any case, okay, it's the only explanation why animal in the store. So the Boca Raton winner of the week. So it goes to Simon Property for aiding and abetting bad behavior by dog owners. More than SPG, the owner of Boca Raton's Town Center Mall, and so many more across the nation. Maybe I should talk about putting a .org together, because it seems like this news outlet is sort of, I guess, I don't know if anti-dog is the right word, but somebody who is at least accept dog criticism. So I wonder if they would either promote my page or if they would accept like an op-ed article from me. I should contact, because this is not the first time they put up something. Now, I don't see what the comments are. It's always interesting. Let's see, dog. Can't get enough. Are there any comments? So it's very disturbing to regular folks. Obviously, a problem of dog owners disobeying federal law by bringing dogs into businesses. However, the businesses have zero enforcement of federal law. Well, there's significant fines. Well, that's the other thing, too, is that they're kind of, they start, but the problem is, I think what he's trying to say is that we should punish businesses for allowing this. And I sort of agree, but the problem is, again, it's nebulous. like I would say too, it's like, okay, we're going to institute a proofing system for this. All service dog handlers require a hard card ID or permit to pursue the activity. Okay. And that means that, okay, everybody, every restaurant, grocery store, fitness center, you must, anybody and everybody coming with a dog, you must card them, just like with liquor sales. Okay. Period. Everybody. And if you don't do it, yeah, we're going to fine you. I would go for that. The problem is in the current arrangement, again, it's all pretty nebulous. Like, is it a service dog? Isn't it? They said it was. Maybe we could require them to ask the two questions. That might deter. Yeah. Dogs everywhere is unsanitary in so many levels. Not to mention dangerous. The shopping experience has been ruined because people can't leave their mutts at home. I love these comments. Are people that pathetic that their precious pup can't stay home for a few hours? How did we end up like this? Okay. I love dogs. We own a dog. I would never bring her into a public place where she doesn't belong. Good. Not everyone is a dog lover. And those folks shouldn't have to put up with dogs in the grocery store, etc. The picture above of the dog sitting at the bar. How would you like to be the next one to sit there with the potential of smeared dog poop on the seat? Comment from a dog person. Okay. On a visit to Town Center Mall, where the visiting pooch is obviously had a GI problem and emitted diarrhea with a sickening, disgusting odor. I was unfortunate to walk by at the time of this emission, and I nearly vomited. I walked away quickly thinking that I needed to find a different mall to shop at. The only problem with that is the problem is everywhere. Okay, I also noticed there were fewer people in the mall manning waste bins, brooms, and mops in the past. Simon Cannon should do a better job than this at the mall. It's become a dog park for residents wanting to show off their pooches and allow them to deposit their waste wherever they want. The other thing that gets me is a point I made this too was like you talk about these big corporations, Publix, Starbucks, Walmart, Trader Joe's, Simon Property. These organizations have the political capital to force a change in the space, right? So yeah, I blame them too. It's not. I mean, you blame the dog for being the disgusting shit beast that it is. You blame the owner for being the irresponsible, cretinous scum that they are. You blame the government for, writing up and passing these garbage dog laws. But I also blame these big companies and, organizations that sort of at least passively enable this stuff. They have the political capital to address the problem, and they don't do it. They should, but they don't.
Yeah.
I think of the time before I was thinking, what we could do is buy shares in some of these companies, go to shareholders meetings like with this and say, we need to address this. Okay. You've already got a bunch of congressmen bought off. Tell them we need reform here. Because this is it's doing a lot of things. It's negatively impacting the bottom line. It's, degrading our public image. And it's setting us up for all kinds of legal issues. We need to do that. Maybe that'll get it going. Oh, why would a dog in a stroller bother anyone? Shut up, lady. Okay. Okay, if I see a dog or a restaurant or grocery, I just walk out, leave my potential purchases wherever I happen to be. So the place of business loses my business, and they will have to return all my items to their proper homes. Wonder how many others do the same thing. I mean, it's not just her. It's just a waste of breath to say anything as nothing gets done. And, it can. It's like it's probably good to lodge a complaint anyway. The fine needs to be given to dog owner for being stupid, being selfish, not picking up. Start fines at $500 unless people bring their pets. Yeah, keep up the great work. It's the rich snobs that think they are entitled to bring their dogs wherever they want. Okay, the security guards and cops at the mall walk right past people with their dogs. That's again, that's an enforcement issue. I think the guards are afraid. They don't want to, get into. But they say, look, you're a security guard or a cop. That's your job. You've been hired by the company or by the people to confront these cretinous scum. Okay, we issue tasers and sidearms for these people for a reason. They get too out of control. You've got the means to get it back under control. Too, if they want to the dog owner wants to take a swing at a cop, we can arrest them for assaulting a police officer also. That's something they take serious. So anyway, I think we've shared enough of that for now. So I think, was there anything else you wanted to discuss? Any other topics? But if not, I think I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the whole, thing of this, like promotes victim mentality. That's kind of what pisses me off about it too.
Yeah.
People are just going to remain victims. It seems to be a thing that's heavily promoted.
Yeah.
It's not helping.
Victims. Well, there's definitely. The dog owners that kind of present themselves as some kind, particularly pit nutters do this a lot. They say, "Oh yeah, we're a new like grievance group or whatever." But you think of that, that presents itself quite a bit. Or do you think that, and I always embrace the power of and is it people on our side that adopt a victim mentality also? Do you think? Still there?
Yeah, sorry. What was that last part you said? People adopted.
People on like somebody who's, let's say you got a person, they got the endlessly barking dog next door, but they won't do
right
about it. They're just like, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me.
Yeah. Well, it's a problem everywhere. Really.
Yeah, but do you think that there's perhaps even people in our space that sort of adopt that, I don't know, that professional victim mentality, for lack of a better word?
I think there's people everywhere that do that, in any space, right?
Yeah.
For whatever. It's just something that's like promoted like within our culture or something.
It is, yeah.
It doesn't help us at all.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is particularly, the dog people, they're, cry bullies. Well, remember that segment? It was from a few weeks ago where there was that the crazy dog lady in that park. I think it was in Portland, Oregon, I think. And she's running after him. First, I guess she was attacking him for having a purebred Rottweiler. But then she's chasing after him saying, "Get away from me! Get away from me!"
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I need to do, that's the other thing.
That's mental illness.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I need, it would be funny to be to, actually, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. I had a thought about that, to use some of that footage, like in a spoof video. I think I might do that because, her reaction was classic. But
pretty telling.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, it's a cry bully, mentality.
Yeah. And I'm all for people not being victims. I'm for protecting people. I'm not speaking against people that are actually victimized.
Yeah.
By things, but just
back when I was blogging, I was saying, you know what? Many of these dog people are bullies, and that's what bullies want. They want weak, compliant victims. And they agitate for a public policy space where they can do that. Where it's like, okay, where they're protected, but nobody's protected from them. But I emphasize too, if you're in a situation like that, like don't be a victim. If you can, stand up to them, be an adversary, because they don't want adversaries, right? If they say, okay, this is like, and I've been even like firsthand dealing with people when they realize that somebody has just said no and means it, the whole scenario, the whole situation changes, the whole dynamic of the situation changes. And I've been through that personally. Most recently was with that pit nutter with a dog running in the neighborhood. Interestingly, he doesn't live around here. I believe he was visiting somebody and lives a block and a half away. But the guy was so indignant and self-righteous. He's like, he just believed, yeah, dude, to me, like I can just do whatever I want and there's nothing about it. But I got right in his face. I was like, you're breaking the law, pal. And you're trespassing, you're breaking the law, and you're in my space giving me a ration of shit. And you need to stop doing those things right now, right in the guy's face. And then, of course, he started recording. I said, they always whip out the phone, just like this stupid fake service dog. When they always get their phone started, record it. Record all that. You know what? Give me a cop. Okay, be sure to share with everybody. And at that point, he realized that I could see like his face change. He was like, "Oh shit!" The guy is not just going to fold up like everybody else does. Like when I tell you to get your dog out of my yard, I fucking mean it. Okay, I'll get the cops in here. I'll fucking pull a rod if I have to. I fucking mean it. I am not. Okay, that's the thing. Been through it even with the neighbors across the street. It's like, look, if I get a drag into court, I'll do it. Like, no, I'm not just going to put up with this abuse forever. In fact, if I could do it over, I would have reacted sooner. But yeah, be an adversary because that's what they want. They want you to be a weak, compliant victim.
Yeah.
And part of the problem is, it's difficult because they're in a public policy environment that basically benefits them, that grants them superior standing to everyone else. And that needs to change. But even in the interim, there's things you can do to stand up for yourself. So.
And they're violent people. They'll resort to violence like so fast,
Oh, yeah. Yep. That kind of brings a point. Yeah, it's like maybe you gotta sort of do a cost benefit analysis. That was that guy. Like, if he wants to take a swing at me in my own front yard, like, fine. Then he's definitely going to prison. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you shouldn't have to be, taking hits and stuff for it too. You gotta protect yourself.
But it's like, hey, you know what? You want to keep escalating and see what happens to you.
Yeah, it's not going to work in his favor for sure.
Not going to work in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, again, thanks for joining. I'm going to wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure.
You can stay on the call even after I'm going to stop recording. Okay,
yep.
3, 2, 1. So this is Animal on Control. As always, people first. Thanks, Ashar. Hold on.
Thank you.